How are you guys doing? Today is Sunday, January 23rd, 2022. I'm James Sims, and for this episode of The Elite, I'm going to review yesterday's Elite matchups and performances from Saturday, January 22nd. Taking a step back and looking at where we are at the top of this 2022 calendar year. We are in the middle of the college basketball season. That's what's going on collegiately. Taking a look at what's going on in the pros, the NFL went from 8 teams competing for Super Bowl 56 down to 6 as we are halfway through the divisional round. Taking a look at what's going on in the NBA is in the second half of its season as it prepares for the All-Star break in about a month. Taking a look at what's going on with soccer, the soccer schedules are also in the second half of their schedules as we are now in the 2022 calendar year. Taking a look at what's going on in the African Cup of Nations, that tournament has now gotten down to 16 teams. And after today's African Cup of Nations matchups, there will be 14 teams left. There are only 2 games left today. And of course, I'm going to slowly ease you through each and every single game, every single sport, day by day. Taking a look first at what is going on with college basketball, starting with the second-ranked Auburn Tigers. They hosted the 12th-ranked Kentucky Wildcats. Auburn would end up beating Kentucky 80-71. They won this matchup by 9 after they outscored the Wildcats by 13 in the second half to overcome their 4-point deficit. On the losing end of this matchup, the Kentucky Wildcats were led in scoring by their starting guard, Severe Wheeler, out of Houston, Texas, and also their starting guard, Kellen Grady, out of Boston, Massachusetts. Starting first with Wheeler, he finished with 17 points in 36 minutes. He shot 7 for 12 from the field. He made his only 3-point attempt of the night, and he shot a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Grady finished with 17 points and 2 steals in 40 minutes. He shot 5 for 9 from the field, 4 for 7 from 3, and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the second-ranked Auburn Tigers were led in scoring by their starting center, Walker Kessler. Walker Kessler finished with 19 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 31 minutes. He shot 8 for 10 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the second-ranked Auburn Tigers are now 18-1. They are 7-0 in the SEC. They currently are the lone undefeated team in the conference. With this loss, the 12th-ranked Kentucky Wildcats are now 15-4. They now sit at 5-2 in the SEC in the 2021-22 season. Taking a look at what went down with the 5th-ranked team in the nation, the defending champs, last year's March Madness champs, the Baylor Bears, went to Norman, Oklahoma to face off against the unranked Oklahoma Sooners. Baylor would beat Oklahoma 65-51. They won this matchup by 14 after outscoring Oklahoma by 4 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the defending champs Baylor Bears were led in scoring by their starting guard Adam Flagler out of Duluth, Georgia. Flagler finished with 16 points and 2 steals in 31 minutes. He shot 6 for 13 from the field and 2 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 5th-ranked Baylor Bears are now 17-2. They are now 5-2 in the Big 12 Conference. With this loss, the unranked Oklahoma Sooners are now 12-7. They are now 2-5 in the Big 12. Looking at the 6th-ranked team in the nation, my alma mater, Duke, would go on to host Syracuse. Syracuse came into this matchup unranked. My Duke Blue Devils would end up beating the Syracuse Orange 79-59. They won this matchup by 20 after outscoring Syracuse by 14 in the first half and by 6 in the second. On the winning end of this matchup, the hometown Duke Blue Devils will be led in scoring by their starting forwards, Wendell Moore, A.J. Griffin, and Paolo Banchero, as well as their starting center, Mark Williams, out of Virginia Beach. Wendell Moore finished with 15 points, 6 rebounds, and 8 assists, as well as 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field and 3 for 7 from 3. Their starting forward, Paolo Banchero, finished with 15 points and 13 rebounds in 33 minutes. He shot 6 for 11 from the field, 1 for 4 from 3, and 2 for 4 from the foul line. A.J. Griffin finished with 15 points and 6 rebounds in 30 minutes. He shot 5 for 10 from the field. All 5 of his makes came from 3. He was 5 for 9 from 3. And then Mark Williams finished with 15 points and 7 rebounds in 23 minutes. He shot 6 for 7 from the field and a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. With this win, the 6th-ranked Duke Blue Devils are now 15-3. They are now 5-2 in the ACC. They are one of 4 teams in the conference that have 2 losses. With this loss, the unranked Syracuse Orange are now 9-10. They are now 3-5 in the ACC. Taking a look at the 7th-ranked team in the nation, the Kansas Jayhawks would face off against their in-state rival Kansas State at Kansas State. Kansas would beat Kansas State 78-75. They won this matchup by 3 after outscoring Kansas State by 19 in the second half to overcome their 16-point deficit at the half. On the winning end of this matchup, the Jayhawks were led in scoring by their starting guard, Ochai Agbaji. He would go on to finish with 29 points, 7 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 36 minutes. He shot 10 for 18 from the field, and with this win, the 7th-ranked Kansas Jayhawks are 16-2. They are 5-1 in the Big 12. They are the only team in the conference with only 1 loss. They have the best record so far. With this loss, the unranked Kansas State Wildcats are now 10-8. They are now 2-5 in the conference, sharing the worst record in the conference with Oklahoma and Iowa State for the time being. Taking a look at what went down with the 9th-ranked team in the nation, the UCLA Bruins would go to Colorado and beat the Buffaloes 71-65. They won this matchup by 6 after outscoring the Buffaloes by 15 in the first half. On the winning end of this matchup, the Bruins were led in scoring by their starting guard, Johnny Juzang. Juzang finished with 23 points and 6 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 9 for 18 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he would shoot a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. With this win, the 9th-ranked UCLA Bruins are 13-2. They are 5-1 in the Pac-12. With this loss, the unranked Colorado Buffaloes are now 12-6. They are 4-4 in the Pac-12 for the time being. Taking a look at the 10th-ranked team in the nation, the Houston Cougars hosted the unranked East Carolina Pirates. Houston won this matchup 79-36. They won this matchup by 43 after outscoring Eastern Carolina by 30 in the first half and by 13 in the second. On the winning end of this matchup, the 10th-ranked Houston Cougars were led in scoring by their starting guard, Kyler Edwards, out of Arlington, Texas. Edwards would go on to finish with 25 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists. He would do all this in 27 minutes as he shot 7 for 13 from the field, 6 for 11 from 3, and he shot a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. With this win, the 10th-ranked Houston Cougars are now 17-2. They are now 6-0 in the American Conference. They are the lone undefeated team and therefore have the best record in the conference at this point. Taking a look at what went down with the 11th-ranked team in the nation, the Villanova Wildcats would go down to D.C. and face off against the unranked Georgetown Hoyas. Villanova would beat Georgetown 85-74. They won this matchup by 11 after outscoring Georgetown by 14 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 11th-ranked Wildcats were led in scoring by their starting guard, Colin Gillespie. He finished with 28 points in 35 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 6 for 9 from 3, and he shot a perfect 6 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the 11th-ranked Villanova Wildcats are now 14-5. They are now 7-2 in the Big East. With this loss, the unranked Georgetown Hoyas are 6-5. They are 0-5 in the Big East. They are the lone team in the Big East who still has yet to win a game this season. Looking at the 13th-ranked team in the nation, the LSU Tigers would go to Tennessee, Knoxville specifically, to face off against the 24th-ranked Volunteers. Tennessee would end up beating LSU 64-50 in front of their home fans. They won this matchup by 14 after outscoring LSU by 5 in the first half and by 9 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 13th-ranked LSU Tigers were led in scoring by their forward off the bench, Tari Eason. He would go on to finish with 16 points, and 6 rebounds in 29 minutes. He shot 6 for 12 from the field, 1 for 2 from 3, and he shot a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the 24th ranked Tennessee Volunteers were led in scoring by their starting guard, Santiago Vescovi out of Uruguay. He would finish with 16 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 5 for 11 from the field. All of his attempts came from 3, and he shot 1 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the 24th ranked Tennessee Volunteers are now 13-5. They are 4-3 in the SEC. With this loss, the 13th ranked LSU Tigers are now 15-4. They are now 3-4 in the SEC. Taking a look at the 15th ranked team in the nation, the Iowa State Cyclones hosted the unranked TCU Horned Frogs. TCU would upset Iowa State in front of their home fans. They won this matchup by 15. They won this matchup 59-44. They outscored Iowa State by 11 in the first half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 15th ranked Iowa State Cyclones were led in scoring by their starting guard, Isaiah Brockington. He finished with 19 points, 12 rebounds, and 2 steals in 36 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the unranked TCU Horned Frogs were led in scoring by their starting guard, Damian Baugh. Their junior out of Nashville will go on to finish with 23 points, 7 rebounds, 5 assists, 7 steals, and 5 turnovers in 37 minutes. He shot 11 for 17 from the field. With this win, the unranked TCU Horned Frogs are now 13-3. They are now 3-2 in the Big 12. With this loss, the 15th ranked Iowa State Cyclones are now 14-5. They are now 2-5 in the Big 12. Taking a look at what's going on with the 16th ranked team in the nation, the USC Trojans would go to Salt Lake City and beat on the unranked Utah Utes. The Trojans beat the Utes 79-67. They won this matchup by 12 after outscoring Utah by 5 in the first half and by 7 in the second. On the winning end of this matchup, the 16th ranked Trojans were led in scoring by their starting guard, Drew Peterson out of Illinois. Peterson would go on to finish with 23 points and 7 rebounds in 36 minutes. He shot 9 for 10 from the field, a perfect 5 for 5 from 3 as well. With this win, the 16th ranked USC Trojans are 16-2. They are 6-2 in the Pac-12. With this loss, the unranked Utah Utes are 8-12. They are now 1-9 in the ACC. Taking a look at what's going on with the 18th ranked team in the nation, the Texas Tech Red Raiders hosted the unranked West Virginia Mountaineers. Texas Tech won this matchup by 13 after outscoring West Virginia by 11 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 18th ranked Red Raiders were led in scoring by their starting guard, Terrence Shannon Jr. out of Chicago. He finished with 23 points and 5 rebounds. He would do all this in 32 minutes as he shot 7 for 12 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and he shot 6 for 7 from the foul line. With this win, the 18th ranked Texas Tech Red Raiders are now 15-4. They are now 5-2 in the Big 12. With this loss, the unranked West Virginia Mountaineers are now 13-5. They are now 2-4 in the Big 12. Taking a look now at what went down with the 22nd ranked team in the nation, the Loyola Chicago Ramblers hosted the unranked Missouri State Bears. Missouri State beat Loyola Chicago 79-69. They won this matchup by 10 after outscoring Loyola Chicago by 8 in the second half. On the losing end of this matchup, the 22nd ranked Loyola Chicago Ramblers were led in scoring by their starting guard, Braden Norris out of Hilliard, Ohio. He finished with 16 points and 5 assists. He did all this in 36 minutes as he shot 5 for 12 from the field, 4 for 12 from 3, and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Missouri State Bears were led in scoring by their starting guard, Isaiah Mosley, out of Columbia, Missouri. He would go on to finish with 40 points and 8 rebounds in 40 minutes. He shot 14 for 22 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and 9 for 11 from the foul line. With this win, the unranked Missouri State Bears are now 15-6. They are now 6-2 in the Missouri Valley Conference. With this loss, the 22nd ranked Loyola Chicago Ramblers are 14-3. They are now 5-1 in the Missouri Valley Conference. With this loss, they still have the best record in that conference. Looking at what's going on with the 23rd ranked team in the nation, the Texas Longhorns hosted the unranked Oklahoma State Cowboys. Texas beat Oklahoma State by 5. They won at 56-51 after outscoring Oklahoma State by 7 in the second half. On the winning end of this matchup, the 23rd ranked Longhorns were led in scoring by their starting guard, Marcus Carr, out of Toronto, Ontario. He would go on to finish with 14 points in 32 minutes. He would go on to shoot 2 for 10 from the field, 2 for 5 from 3, and a perfect 8 for 8 from the foul line. So that is how yesterday's matchups were shaping out. Taking a look at what's going on today, starting off at noon on FS1, the 21st ranked Providence Friars are going to host the unranked Butler Bulldogs. Providence enters this matchup with a 5-1 record in the Big East. At 1 o'clock, the 4th-ranked Purdue Boilermakers are going to host the unranked Northwestern Wildcats. That matchup is going to be on the Big Ten Network. Purdue enters this matchup with a 4-3 record in the Big Ten. At 2 o'clock, the 20th-ranked Xavier Musketeers are going to go to Marquette to face off against the unranked Golden Eagles. Xavier enters this matchup with a 4-2 Big East record. At 3 o'clock on Pac-12, the unranked Cal Bears are going to host the 3rd-ranked Arizona Wildcats. Arizona enters this matchup with a 5-0 record in the Pac-12, as Cal look to be the very first team to give Arizona a loss in the Pac-12 for the season. That's everything that I got for college. Taking a look at what's going on in the NFL, starting off with the first divisional matchup in Tennessee, which featured the Tennessee Titans, who finished with the number 1 seed in the AFC. They would go on to host the Cincinnati Bengals, who came into this round with the 4th seed. The Cincinnati Bengals would end up beating the Tennessee Titans 19-16. They were the very first team to book their ticket to the championship round. Looking at how the scoring went, the Bengals would kick 2 field goals in the first quarter to put themselves up 6-0. The Tennessee Titans would end up scoring off of a 3-yard touchdown run from Derrick Henry. The 2-point conversion from Henry failed, so the score was tied at 6. The Bengals would kick a field goal to put themselves up 9-6. Going into halftime, the third quarter would open up with the Bengals scoring off of a 16-yard touchdown run from Joe Mixon, putting them up 16-6. Tennessee would kick a field goal to put them down by a touchdown, and then Ryan Tannehill would throw a 33-yard touchdown pass to A.J. Hill, ending the third quarter, making the game at 16. And then the Bengals would end up winning the game on the last play off of an Evan McPherson 52-yard field goal. Of course, this field goal being his 4th of the game. Taking a look at how both teams fared statistically going into this matchup. In their final football game of the 2021 campaign, the Tennessee Titans, who came into this playoff picture with the best record in the AFC South, were led by their starting quarterback, Ryan Tannehill. Tannehill would complete 15 of his 24 passes as he threw for 220 yards, a touchdown, and 3 interceptions. He would also run for 12 yards, so he had 232 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher was Deontay Foreman, who had 4 carries for 66 yards. Their second leading carrier was their elite running back, Derrick Henry, who made his first appearance in months. He would finish with 20 carries for 62 yards, as he would finish with one of the team's 2 offensive touchdowns. Their leading receiver was A.J. Brown. Brown had 5 receptions for 142 yards and a touchdown. Their future Hall of Fame wide receiver Julio Jones finished with 6 receptions for 62 yards in his final game with the Titans this year. And their leading tackler was Zach Cunningham. He finished with 10 tackles on the day. Jeffrey Simmons would finish with 8 tackles, as he finished with 3 of the team's 9 total sacks on the day. Harold Landry III would finish with 6 tackles, as he had a sack and a half. Danico Autry had 3 tackles, as he had a sack and a half. David Long Jr. finished with 8 tackles, as he finished with a sack. Bud Dupree finished with 2 tackles, as he had a sack as well. And Amani Hooker would finish with 8 tackles as he finished with the team's lone interception. On the winning end of this matchup, looking at the team that's going on, the Bengals were led by their starting quarterback, Joe Burrow, out of Ohio State. The former Heisman winner and former number 1 overall pick would complete 28 of his 37 passes as he threw for 348 yards and an interception. He would also run for 5 yards, so that's 353 total yards of offense. Their leading rusher was Joe Mixon. He had 14 carries for 54 yards and a touchdown on the ground. He also had 6 receptions and 51 yards through the air, so he had 105 total yards of offense. The Bengals' leading receiver was Jamar Chase, their elite young wide receiver out of LSU. He finished with 5 receptions for 109 yards. Their second leading receiver, T. Higgins, had 7 receptions for 96 yards. Their third leading receiver, C.J. Uzomah, had 7 receptions for 71 yards himself. The Bengals' leading tackler was Logan Wilson. He finished with 8 tackles. Von Bell had 6 tackles as well as the team's lone sack. Mike Hilton would finish with 2 tackles as he had one of the team's interceptions. Logan Wilson, in addition to finishing with the team high in tackles, he had a sack an interception for himself. And then Jesse Bates III would finish with 4 tackles and the 3rd interception that the Bengals would record. With this win, like I said, the Bengals will advance to the next round. And looking at the other matchup that took place yesterday, looking at the other number 1 seed that advanced, the Green Bay Packers, who entered this matchup as the NFC North champs, hosted the San Francisco 49ers, who came into the playoffs with the 3rd best record in the NFC. The San Francisco 49ers would end up beating the Packers 13-10 as they will go into their next matchup knowing that they're going to be playing the NFC Championship game on the road. Yet another road game for them after they came off of their win, or as the Niners came off of their solid win against the Cowboys, the only team that won their road game, and the wild card still survives. Taking a look at how both teams got here, starting with the Packers, they would start off with a 6-yard run from A.J. Dillon in the top of the first quarter. Going into halftime, the Packers held a 7-0 lead. Robbie Gould kicked a 29-yard field goal for the Niners in the third quarter to finally open their account. The Packers would kick a field goal in the fourth quarter, put them up 10-3. The Packers would end up getting a punt blocked or at least ricocheted up into the air. The Niners would end up returning it very short. It was a 6-yard and return by Talanoa Hufanga. He would tie the game up at 10, and then Robbie Gould would kick a 45-yard field goal in the final seconds to cement the win as the 49ers punched their tickets, and they ended the Green Bay Packers season a lot earlier than the Packers expected it to be. In their final campaign of the 2021 season, and what could have possibly been Aaron Rodgers' last season with the Green Bay Packers, he would go on to complete 20 of his 29 passes as he threw for 225 yards. Their leading rusher was their elite running back, Aaron Jones. He would go on to finish with 12 carries for 41 yards. He was also the team's leading receiver as he had 9 receptions for 129 yards. He would go on to finish with 170 total yards of offense. Their elite wide receiver, Davante Adams, had 9 receptions for 90 yards. As Aaron Jones and Davante Adams basically split 90% of the receptions. On the defensive side of the ball, the Packers were led in tackles by Preston Smith. He finished with 9 of them. Rashawn Gary would finish with 4 tackles as he had 2 of the team's sacks. Kenny Clark would go on to finish with 6 tackles as he had a team sack. Zadarius Smith, their elite defensive end, his lone tackle was a sack as well. Adrian Amos would finish with 5 tackles as he would finish with an interception as well. And on the winning end of this matchup, the San Francisco 49ers were led by their starting quarterback, Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo would complete 11 of his 19 passes as he threw for 131 yards and an interception. The Niners' leading rusher was Elijah Mitchell. He had 17 carries for 53 yards. He would also have 18 yards through the air, so that's 71 total yards of offense. Their elite tight end, George Kittle, would finish with 4 receptions for 63 yards on the day. The Niners' leading tacklers were Dante Johnson, Fred Warner, and Dre Greenlaw. They each finished with 6 tackles on the day. Eric Armstead finished with 5 tackles as he had 2 of the team's 2 sacks. Their elite defensive end out of Ohio State, Nick Bosa, finished with 3 tackles as he had 2 sacks. And Samson Ebukam finished with 3 tackles as he had a sack as well. With this win, the San Francisco 49ers will advance to the NFC Championship game where they will face off against the winner between the Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And I don't know if I said this earlier, but the Bengals will face off against the winner between the Buffalo Bills and the Kansas City Chiefs. And looking back at the Packers with this loss, this is the first loss that they were actually able to they were able to sustain at home for the 2021 season. They were 8-0 in the regular season this year. So, with that said, taking a look at the games that are going on today, starting at 3 o'clock, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to host the Los Angeles Rams. The Bucs come into this matchup as the NFC South champs, and not to mention they won their wild card matchup against the Philadelphia Eagles. The Rams enter this matchup after they won their wild card game against the Arizona Cardinals, and the winner of this matchup will host the San Francisco 49ers. Looking at the second game today, the Kansas City Chiefs, the defending AFC champs, and the current AFC West champs, are going to host the Buffalo Bills, who come into this matchup as the AFC North champs for the time being. The Bills enter this matchup with the 3 seed, and the Chiefs enter this with the 2 seed. Bills made it here after their matchup or their wild card win against the Patriots, and the Chiefs made it here after their wild card win against the Steelers. The winner of this matchup will host the Cincinnati Bengals in the AFC Championship game. And after today, the amount of teams that are competing for this year's Super Bowl will drop down from 6 to 4. Taking a look at what's going down in the NBA, starting with the first of its 3 games. There were only 3 games yesterday. Starting with the defending champs, the Milwaukee Bucks hosted the Sacramento Kings. The Bucks have beat the Kings 133 to 127. They won this matchup by 6 after they outscored the Kings by 16 in the second quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Sacramento Kings were led in scoring by their starting small forward out of UNC, Harrison Barnes. Barnes finished with 29 points and 6 rebounds in 39 minutes. He shot 11 for 18 from the field, 3 for 6 from 3, and 4 for 6 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Tyrese Halliburton, finished with 24 points, 6 rebounds, and 12 assists in 38 minutes. He shot 8 for 14 from the field, 5 for 8 from 3, and he shot 3 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting shooting guard, Terrence Davis, finished with 22 points and 7 rebounds in 30 minutes. He shot 9 for 8 from the field, and he would go on to make his only free throw attempt of the night. On the winning end of this matchup, the Milwaukee Bucks were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Chris Middleton. Middleton finished with 34 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists in 34 minutes. He shot 12 for 20 from the field, 5 for 7 from 3, and a perfect 5 for 5 from the foul line. Their starting point guard, Jrue Holiday, finished with 26 points and 5 rebounds as well as 2 steals in 32 minutes. He shot 10 for 20 from the field, 2 for 3 from 3, and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Their shooting guard off the bench, Dante DiVincenzo, finished with 20 points in 25 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field, 3 for 5 from 3, and 5 for 6 from the foul line. With this win, the Milwaukee Bucks are now 30-19. That is currently the 4th best record in the Eastern Conference for the time being. They have now won their last 3 games, and they've won 5 of their last 10. For the time being, they sit 1 game behind the Brooklyn Nets out east. Taking a look at where the Sacramento Kings are with this loss, they are now 18-30. That is the 4th worst record in the Western Conference. They've lost their last 3 games, and they've lost 8 of their last 10. They currently sit 5.5 games behind the 8th seed LA Clippers out west. Looking at what's going on in Cleveland, the Cavaliers hosted the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Cavaliers were able to beat the Thunder 94-87. They won this matchup by 7 after they outscored the Thunder by 8 in the third quarter. On the losing end of this matchup, the Thunder were led in scoring by their starting point guard out of Kentucky, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. He finished with 29 points, 9 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 steals in 39 minutes. Shea shot 12 for 23 from the field, 3 for 7 from 3, and he shot 2 for 5 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Cleveland Cavaliers were led in scoring by their starting point guard Darius Garland. Garland finished with 23 points and 11 assists, as well as 8 turnovers in 39 minutes. He shot 9 for 20 from the field and a perfect 4 for 4 from the foul line. Also, looking at what's going on with them, their starting center, Evan Mobley, their rookie, finished with 15 points, 17 rebounds in 39 minutes as he shot 6 for 12 from the field. He made his only 3 attempt on the day. Their starting center, Jarrett Allen, finished with 14 points, 13 rebounds, and 2 blocks in 34 minutes. He shot 6 for 9 from the field. With this win, the Cleveland Cavaliers are now 28-19. That is the 5th best record in the Eastern Conference. They've won 7 of their last 10 games, and they've now sit 2 games behind the Brooklyn Nets in the Eastern Conference. With this loss, the Oklahoma City Thunder are now 14-32. That is the 2nd worst record in the West. They've lost their last 5 games, which is currently the worst losing streak in the NBA. They've lost 9 of their last 10 games. They currently sit 8.5 games behind the 8th seed LA Clippers in the conference. Last but not least, taking a look at what's going on with the scorching hot Suns. They hosted the Indiana Pacers. They beat the Pacers 113-103. They won this matchup by 10 after they outscored the Pacers by 13 in the third quarter by a combined 19 in the middle 2 quarters. On the losing end of this matchup, the Indiana Pacers were led in scoring by their starting shooting guard Chris Duarte and their guard off the bench Lance Stevenson. Duarte finished with 17 points in 31 minutes. He shot 7 for 15 from the field and 3 for 6 from 3. Stevenson finished with 17 points in 18 minutes. He shot 7 for 9 from the field and 3 for 4 from the foul line. On the winning end of this matchup, the Phoenix Suns were led in scoring by their starting small forward, Mikal Bridges. He finished with 23 points and 6 rebounds in 35 minutes. He shot 10 for 15 from the field, 2 for 4 from 3, and he made his only free throw attempt of the day. Their center off the bench, Bismack Biyombo, finished with 21 points, 13 rebounds, 5 assists, and 2 blocks in 30 minutes. He shot 9 for 12 from the field, and he shot a perfect 3 for 3 from the foul line. Their elite starting point guard, Chris Paul, finished with 18 points, 4 rebounds, 6 assists, and 4 steals in 41 minutes. He shot 8 for 11 from the field and a perfect 2 for 2 from the foul line. Their elite starting shooting guard, Devin Booker, finished with 11 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, and 2 steals, as well as 2 blocks in 39 minutes. He shot 5 for 23 from the field and made his only free throw attempt of the day. The Suns starting center, JaVale McGee, finished with 13 points, 12 rebounds, and 3 blocks in 18 minutes. He shot 6 for 10 from the field and 1 for 2 from the foul line. With this win, the Phoenix Suns are now 36-9. That is the best record in the Western Conference and in the NBA for that matter. As they have 36 wins, there's not a team in the Eastern Conference that has 30. The Suns have won their last 6 games, which is the longest winning streak in the NBA for the time being, and they have won 9 of their last 10 games. They sit 3.5 games ahead of the second-place Golden State Warriors in the conference. With this loss, the Indiana Pacers are now sitting with a 7-30 record. That is the 3rd worst record in the Eastern Conference. They've lost 7 of their last 10, and at the moment they sit 7 games behind the 8th seed Toronto Raptors out east. That's what the NBA is looking like following yesterday's matchups, and of course, knowing today is a new day, starting off with the prime times for Sunday. Starting off at 6 o'clock on NBA TV, the Miami Heat, who currently hold the Eastern Conference's the 3rd best record, are going to host the LA Lakers, who hold the Western Conference's 7th best record. In addition to that, the Golden State Warriors, who hold the Western Conference's 2nd best record, are going to host the Utah Jazz, who host the Western Conference's and the NBA's 4th best record so far. Take a look at the games that aren't on prime time at 1 o'clock. The New York Knicks are going to host the LA Clippers at Madison Square Garden. At 3:30, the Washington Wizards are going to host the Boston Celtics at Capital One Arena. At 6 o'clock, the Orlando Magic are going to host the Chicago Bulls at Amway Center. At 6 o'clock, the Raptors are going to host the Trailblazers at Scotiabank Arena. At 7 o'clock, the Charlotte Hornets are going to host the Atlanta Hawks at the Spectrum Center. At 7 o'clock, the San Antonio Spurs are going to host the Philadelphia 76ers at the AT&T Center. At 7:30, the Dallas Mavericks are going to host the Memphis Grizzlies at the American Airlines Center. At 8 o'clock, the Timberwolves are going to host the Brooklyn Nets at Target Center. And then at 8 o'clock, the Nuggets are going to host the Pistons at the Ball Arena, just to give a sense of what's going on there. And, of course, looking at what's going on in the world of soccer from yesterday's matchup, starting off from the Premier League, Manchester United was able to beat West Ham 1-0 thanks to a 93rd last-minute goal from their elite English forward Marcus Rashford. With this win, Man U is now sitting fourth in the Premier League table temporarily as they sit 4 or 6 points behind third place Chelsea for the time being. Manchester City ended up drawing with Southampton as their lone goal came from Laporte in the 65th minute. They sit 12 points ahead of second place Liverpool with 2 more games having been played. Taking a look at what's going on in La Liga, Atletico Madrid was able to beat Valencia 3-2 as they scored 2 goals past the 90th minute in order to tie it and then come from behind. The game-winning goal coming from Hermoso. With this win, for the time being, Atletico Madrid is sitting fourth in La Liga, sitting behind Real Madrid, Sevilla, and Real Betis for right now. And then in the Bundesliga, Borussia Dortmund was able to beat TSG Hoffenheim 3-2 as Haaland, their elite Norwegian striker, would score the first goal for them. And then Marco Reus would score in the 58th, and their third would come off of an own goal. With this win, Borussia Dortmund just sits 3 points below Bayern Munich, who gets the chance to top that today. And taking a look at what went down in Italy, the reigning Serie A champs, Inter Milan, would host Venezia. They would end up seeing Venezia score the first goal of the game. Barella would tie it in the 40th, and Dzeko would score the 90th minute goal to put Inter up and win them the game. With this win, in the Serie A, Inter sits on top, and they are currently sitting 5 points ahead of second place AC Milan in the same table. Lazio and Atalanta would draw. Atalanta dropped down right now they're sitting fourth, now only 2 points ahead of fifth place Juventus. Not to mention that in Ligue 1, Lille, the reigning champs, lost 2-0 to Brest. Taking a look at what is going on today, it's, of course, starting off with the round of 16 matchups in Africa. The 2 matches going to take place today are Burkina Faso versus Gabon, as Burkina Faso enters this matchup with the second-best record in Group A. Gabon enters this group with the second-best record from Group C. At 2 o'clock, Nigeria, who came in with the best record in the entire group, will go on to, they finished undefeated in D. They're going to face off against Tunisia. Tunisia enters this round after finishing third in Group F with 3 points in the table. Taking a look at what's going on in the Premier League, Arsenal's going to host Burnley, and for the time being, Arsenal actually holds they're sitting about 7th in the Premier League, so a win would temporarily have them jump up pretty high again, but they must win those games. Liverpool's going to go to Crystal Palace. Liverpool currently holds the second-best record in the Premier League as they sit 12 points behind first place Man City. Chelsea's going to host Tottenham in this London derby at 11:30. Chelsea holds the third-best record in the Premier League, and Tottenham holds the sixth, as they are both separated by 8 points. It's a must-win for both, as Chelsea sits only 1 point below Liverpool, and any slip-up from Liverpool would mean that Chelsea has an opportunity to get back up. Taking a look at what's going down in La Liga, Real Madrid is going to face off against Elche at 10:15. Real Madrid holds the best record in La Liga by 3 points for the time being. Barcelona would go on to is going to face off against Alaves at 3 o'clock as well. Barcelona is currently sitting 7th in La Liga as they sit 4 points out of 4th place. So they're working their way back up. In the German Bundesliga, the reigning Bundesliga champs, Bayern Munich, are going to face off against Hertha Berlin. Bayern Munich sits 3 points ahead of Dortmund with one less game played, so a win here would, of course, pad their cushion between them and second place. Taking a look at what's going on in Serie A, AC Milan, who is the second best record in Italy, is going to host Juventus, who is the 5th best record in Italy. Then, not to mention, in Ligue 1, PSG is going to host Stade Reims, as PSG is currently sitting on top of the Ligue 1 by 10 points right now, so they can really kind of cruise and work on their next Champions League game. But everything that I said is everything that I have for you. I want to thank everyone for listening to all 40 minutes of this piece. I do hope all is well. Once all of today's exhibitions and matchups are done, I'm going to come back tomorrow on Monday, January 24th for another episode. So until then, thanks for listening to my piece. I hope all is well, and I'll catch you with another episode tomorrow. Peace out.